Now, when Amass first made its way into Standard, it wasn't all that great, but over time, add in Ozolith and Mutate via Lordrakis and some other shenanigans, and, well, let's see what happens. At the core of the deck, we have 4 copies of Dreadhorde Invasion. Dreadhorde Invasion is an enchantment for 1 black and 1. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and amass 1. And then whenever a zombie token you control with power 6 or greater attacks, it gains lifelink until end of turn. This is incredibly powerful if you can keep the creature around. And in order to do that, we have 1 copy of the Ozolith. The Ozolith is really powerful. Whenever one of our army creatures dies, the tokens will go on to the Ozolith, and then on our next turn, when Dreadhorde Invasion creates another zombie army token, the Ozolith will put the counters back on that creature. Effectively, it's kind of like having an indestructible creature, and that they can't get rid of it with targeted removal unless they remove the Ozolith and the Dreadhorde Invasion. We would love to have more copies, but it's legendary, and the way that we get around that is we run 2 copies of Karn. Now, Karn will let us search for the Ozolith in our sideboard if we don't draw one organically. There's many other things we can search for in the sideboard as well, which we'll get to later, but first I want to set up the base of the deck. Now, one of the biggest payoffs we have for this deck is Widespread Brutality. Now, Widespread Brutality costs a total of 4, it amasses 2, and then the army that we amass will deal damage equal to its power to each non-army creature. This is incredibly powerful and oftentimes results in a one-sided board wipe. Now, what we want to do is be able to reuse Widespread Brutality as often as possible, and we have a couple tools in order to do that. First off, we have Lordrakis. Now, Lordrakis can mutate for just 2 mana, and anytime it mutates, we can get an instant or a sorcery from our graveyard back to our hand. So the key play here is to get an early mutate onto an army, get back a Widespread Brutality to wipe the board a second time. This will keep the board clear of threats, and then we can usually get through for the win. Some added value is if we happen to draw a second Lordrakis and we mutate again, we'll actually be able to get back 2 copies of something, which is incredibly powerful in the right circumstances. Now, we're running 1 copy of Vadrik because, like Lordrakis, Vadrik can trigger mutate. If we've already put a Lordrakis on something, it can trigger that mutate again by mutating Vadrik, and then we can get back Widespread Brutality or whatever other card we need, but we can also use Vadrik's ability to replay something from our yard that maybe we can't replay with Lordrakis, something like a Narset or Demonic Embrace or Dreadhorde Invasion itself. We do have Demonic Embrace as a closer. This works really well in that the zombie army tokens that we create with Dreadhorde Invasion don't have any kind of evasion themselves, so we stick this on them. Not only do they get +3 power, which means they get to the point where they're life-linked quicker, but they're also now able to swing in with flying and oftentimes get through the opponent's defenses. Now, we've got some Amass cards to back this up. 3 copies of Toll of the Invasion, because most times if they're playing aggro, the Widespread Brutality will be enough to deal with whatever they have. But if we're playing against control, we need other answers. And Toll of the Invasion is probably one of the better Amass cards that helps us deal with that. We're also running 3 copies of Narset. This lets us search for more spells that will be helpful to us, but more importantly than that, we can grab Widespread Brutality if we don't have one yet. So a lot of times you'll see a play line like turn 2 Dreadhorde Invasion, and we don't have a Widespread Brutality, so we drop a turn 3 Narset, find the Widespread Brutality so we can cast it on turn 4. To round out the package of Amass spells, we have 4 Callous Dismissals. That deals with early threats while still building up our Amass army, and 4 copies of Lazotep Plating. And the plating can protect everything on the board, from the Ozolith to the Dreadhorde Invasion to even Karn, while also creating more power for our zombie army token. We have a pretty techie play mixed into this deck as well, in the form of 2 copies of Role Reversal. Now, what's interesting is if we get into a situation where our army's really small, maybe they've killed it once, and we're trying to build it back up, we get the opportunity to now trade that zombie army token for one of their really big creatures that they might have in play. And there's some extra added tech in here where if we have Demonic Embrace out and they have an enchantment that we need to take from them, we can give them control of Demonic Embrace and we essentially lose nothing and we gain control of their enchantment. Same thing can be done with Karn, where Karn is mostly a do-nothing planeswalker for our opponents, but if they have a really powerful planeswalker in play, we can use the role reversal to trade Karn for whatever planeswalker we want and usually end out on top. We round up the curve with 2 copies of Enter the God Eternals. It's a really good Amass card. The current format, there's a lot of things out of the reach of 4 direct damage, so it's not as useful as it used to be when War of the Spark was new, but it's still a great include, and I think 2 copies makes sense. Getting back to the sideboard, Karn not only finds us the Ozolith, which is the main reason he's in it, but he can grab us a lot of interesting silver bullets. So the first and foremost is Shadow Spear. Shadow Spear is another way, whereas if we don't get our 2 Demonic Embraces, the Shadow Spear can give some extra evasion to our giant zombie army, give it trample, give it lifelink, and give us a way to get through and close the game if he has chump blockers. We've got the normal assortment of things for the Karn Wish board. We have a Tormod's Crypt, Grafdigger's Cage, Sorcerer's Spyglass. You know, those are all to take out graveyard shenanigans and planeswalker activations. We also have a Spark Hunter Masticore for planeswalkers. We've got a Maze Mine Tome, and that's a lot of times for if we're ahead and we want to stay ahead, we can grab that and get a lot of card advantage out of it over the term of the game. We have 1 Embercleave, because if we're in the right situation, we can slap an Embercleave on the zombie army token and just win with a really big trample double strike, and it can be impressive. The rest of the sideboard here consists of 1 Bolas Citadel. If we get to the late game, we can just play everything and win. 1 God Pharaoh statue if we really need to help lock them out. Chromatic Orrery, because it's a really good card. Meteor Golem to take care of problem permanents. 1 Magic Mirror, which is a little bit techy. We run a lot of instants and sorceries in the deck, so a lot of times we'll find ourselves in a situation where we have a Karn in play and we realize we can cast a Magic Mirror for only 3 blue, and we can grab it out of our sideboard and play that, and we generate so much card advantage from that situation that we just get ahead no matter what a lot of times. And then to round it out, we have Stonecoil Serpent, and this is another card that a lot of times if we're ahead, we grab it to stay ahead, comes down as a really big threat. But also if we're trying to play defensively and we really need to defend against especially flyers coming in, we can drop a big Stonecoil Serpent and really get there. Added value is the Serpent comes in with a lot of counters. So if they remove it and we have the Ozolith in play, we get a lot of value over the course of the game. So there's a lot going on with this deck. I think it's really interesting. There's some really cool play lines, and let's get into the games. This is not a good opening hand. This is keepable. Again, not great, but keepable. More than likely, we're going turn 2 Callous Dismissal, slow them down, get some of their aggro off the table. Turn 3 is a bit of a wild card right now, but turn 4 we definitely roll into Widespread Brutality. Nice. That is what I like to see. We're gonna fetch the swamp. We are going to pop an island. Callous Dismissal. Essentially buying us an extra turn, which should be enough. He's clearly playing cycling. Need an extra turn. We are going to put that into play tapped and play an invasion. And honestly, we should be pretty good at that point. even if he kills our army here, we're still gonna widespread brutality for 3. Wipe whatever he has, including the stinger. If he doesn't kill the army, we're really close to swinging with a lifelinker, which essentially takes Zenith Flare out of the equation. And at that point, I think we've got him. We'll see what he does. Stop pulling your hair out, boy. No blocks. This deck is spicy. That's fine. Get up the mountain. Yeah, he doesn't have enough to Zenith Flare yet. Next turn, if I have to, I'll waste the plating just so that we can swing in with lifelink. If we can swing in with lifelink, take his Zenith Flare out of the equation, that's pretty much it at that point. Yeah. We're gonna play Narset first. See if we can find something else other than plating.
Mind and body should move in unison. I have just the trick for this.
I mean, I think we just grab Karn. We're plating now. We need to get out of Zenith Flare reach. And that does it. Puts us to 17. Now he has to remove the creature. He just has to. And I don't think he can. So that's game. We did it, boys. Alright, sugar watermelon. That sounds intimidating. This is decent. We'll keep it. It's a lot of pain, for sure. Plays a Temple of Malice. He's scrying. Plays a Shadow Steel. Interesting. We're gonna play out the invasion. We're not gonna put one of the pain lands into play, one of the shock lands, because we're gonna try to conserve our health if we can. We may not need it. Like here. The correct play here is to put a blue-black source into play tapped. I'm a liar. I needed to shock it in so that I could play Callous Dismissal. I forgot I didn't have a blue source out yet. Such a silly oversight. Is what it is. We will play the Demonic Embrace. Just swing. And we'll play the Temple. Get rid of that. Pass the turn. Alright. Thirst for Meaning. He's certainly digging. Certainly digging. Wow. Is that all the deck does? this a recursion deck? I think this is a recursion deck, which means he's probably online next turn. Which means we need to get big, save the widespread brutality, get as big as possible. No, you know what? Let's not save the widespread brutality. Let's do this. Next turn, we can play Lord Rakis to get back the brutality and kill whatever he brings out of the yard. But we needed to get the toughness up high enough on our zombie army so that it survives a potential Dracoseth. Because that would be bad. Dracoseth would be very bad. Like I said. Especially if he had gotten one with haste, it would have been especially bad. We're gonna take the easy way out here. We're just gonna Callous Dismissal. And he scoops it up. He got the win. I like this. I like this hand. By turn 3, we know if he's playing control or aggro, most likely. If he's playing control, we toll of the evasion. If he's toll of the invasion, if he's playing aggro, we narc it and we try to dig for a brutality. Should be fine. Start with a temple. I think we take it, honestly. It's a little risky. We want to draw into our 4th land. But we're so close to a perfect curve if we just get the land. Is he playing mono green? Ooh, he is. He's playing mono green. This is gonna be fun. Ah, we got there. Alright, we're gonna Toll of the Invasion. What do we take out? What does he want to drop turn 3? I mean, we want him to play his creatures, right? Vivian's going to be useless after we wipe, so I think the Great Henge is actually very problematic. We'll get rid of that. If he plays the Snake for 1 and the Ooze, or the Harpooner, that's going to be really good for us. Nope, but he does play that. I am good with that. We are in a good position. We are going to dig for a black. Play the Brutality. Wipe his board. Swing in for 5. He just wants to block. But it is not enough, my friend. It is not enough. We're gonna grab blue. We are going to play Narset. If we find the plating, we'll just swing in and let him block and keep our plating up.
Hone your prowess.
We'll grab an embrace, you know. Go ahead, make a chumper. We just grabbed an embrace. So theoretically, he tries to gain some value here. He makes a chump blocker by sending the beast on an adventure. No, he just scoops it up. We did it. I love this deck. It's crazy. If you don't agree, you're crazy. But that's okay. Subscribe, like, comment, do all the YouTube shenanigans, and we'll see you again tomorrow.